Today we're going to be looking at how American cars are made and basically show you some basic flaws and manufacturing flaws that were created to cause the car to fail later on in its life. Okay, here we have a Beretta Z26, which is a nice car. It looks good and everything. Very nice car. Here's the problem with these American cars. This is the reason why these companies are going out of business. This valve here, what it does is it pulls the air from the valves, and it sucks it up through here into the intake manifold, which is hidden. There's a valve at the top there which is hidden by this piece of metal right here. Now, this is a design flaw, and this was created to hurt your engine because this does not pass through the filter canister, which usually, that's what happens, is that these hoses here pass through the filter first, then they run through the engine to the engine. There's no filter for this hose, so what we're doing is we're sucking all the dirt from inside the valves back into the intake manifold, which will hurt the engine eventually. It's not being filtered. Okay, so that's one design flaw. Here's another design flaw of this kind of vehicle, these types of engines. For instance, the spark plugs here in the front are easy to get at, no problem. This is a 6-cylinder engine. But in the back, when you try to change the spark plugs, there's absolutely no room whatsoever to change the spark plugs in the back. You cannot get your hand back there, you can't get your arm back there, you can't get tools back in there to change that spark plug. Those 3 spark plugs in the back. So what they do is, you have to take this thing to the shop, and they have to drop the whole engine down out of the car in order to get at those 3 plugs in the back. Every place I've taken this car to, every single mechanic that worked on this car just to change the spark plugs went through hell. And I never got my car back for, in some cases, for days. And it's completely ridiculous. And they wonder why why they're going out of business. They need $25 billion to keep their company alive. So what, they can make more garbage? That's bull. A lot of these things are made out of plastic. Lots of the things in the car are made out of plastic, broke and crumbled into dust. This whole system is just unbelievably flawed. And I believe that it was created this way to try to generate money for auto mechanics. It's a big racket. Now I'm going to show you another example of a good car, a car that was made. It's a Nissan. This car is an excellent car. Here we have the same setup. The valve cover with that little device here. It sucks the air out of the valves, and it goes through a filter. We're going to show you how this system is set up. And I've never had a problem with this car. I've had this car longer than I've had the other car. This car was made to last. Because here we have the same system. The hose, and this passes through the filter. It passes through 2 filters before it goes back into the engine. And this filter, you can see how much dirt and gunk is on it. You know, you have to replace those every once in a while. But that's what you're sucking into that other car, the American car. This is the dirt that's going right back into the engine, and it's not being filtered. It has to pass, in this car it has to pass through this filter, then it has to pass through the second one, then it goes back into the engine. So I don't know what these car companies think they're trying to pull by trying to fool a mechanic like me. You know, what do they think? Do they deserve $25 billion? So what, they can continue to build more garbage? No, they don't deserve it at all. They need to suffer, and they don't need no. They don't need no pay, no money, no nothing. They need to be punished. This is a real car right here. This is Nissan. Never had a problem with this car. But that's just an example of how American car companies are taking advantage of people and causing cars to fail by their design flaws, which were probably intentional to create money. They thought they were going to make money off us. Well, now they're going out of business. Okay, so back to the Beretta. Now, this is a plastic hose. Already, the plastic, what it's doing, it's acting as a vacuum hose. And the heat it generates from constant use causes the plastic to shrink and get brittle. As you can see, deep down in there, it's hidden. That's loose. As a matter of fact, the intake manifold that it's plugged into is just sucking air from the outside, which contains dirt. So through this loose, this piece right here looks like it's covering up, like it's trying to hide what their little flaw here. But right here, where it's plugged back into the intake manifold, it's loose. And you can clearly see on the side, I see it, down in there, a big gap in what air goes right directly into the engine, bypasses the air filter, and it's sucking in all this air and dirt because the plastic that they use to attach to the aluminum intake manifold is degraded. I thought they used a hose like this, aluminum hose with rubber hose attached to the actual air filter for this type of setup right here. But instead of using aluminum tubing that won't degrade in time as fast as this plastic will, they use plastic. And this is a very important piece of the engine right here, and they made this engine to fail. That's what they did, because if they built engines that were perfect and never needed maintenance, they'd go out of business. But obviously they're going out of business anyway because of the garbage they're building. And now they're asking for $25 billion in bailout money so they can build more garbage. So I wouldn't trust them. This is a 1994 Beretta Z26. And I used to own a 1988. And they've ever since 1988, 87, they've been building these cars this way to fail. That's why you don't see that many Berettas out on the road. And that's about it as far as I can tell.